Welcome to Gone Fishing, a show diving into cybersecurity threats that surround our highly connected lives. Every human is different. Every person has unique vulnerabilities that expose them to potentially successful social engineering. On this show, we'll discuss human vulnerability and how it relates to unique individuals. I'm Connor Swalm, CEO of Phin Security, and welcome to Gone Fishing. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Gone Fishing. I'm your host, Connor, CEO at Phin, and I am joined once again by Mary Signorelli, a Director of Partner Experience, and I can confirm she is a very dope individual. Mary, how are you doing today?
Perfect, thank you.
So today we're going to talk about what it looks like to build a strong team. In our last episode, we chatted about not only have you worked in the channel for a bit, you were a teacher. And my life is, for better or for worse, filled with teachers at all levels. My wife, my mom, my brother, my dad, grandma, grandpa, uncles, aunts, friends, everyone happens to be. Not me. I'm not a teacher. I don't have the patience for that.
Not officially.
Not officially, I guess. Maybe I do teach people, I don't know, some things all the time. I would never call myself a teacher. I'll put it that way. I don't have patience for that. So you've been a part of many teams. Not only are you on one now, but teaching teams are a thing, as I've learned. What does it look like for you to build a strong team?
I think that you've got to look at culture for sure. You've got to make sure that when you hire, when you interview, everything is directed at common goals, common values, and making sure that you've got a cultural fit. Because you can hire the smartest person, and if they can't communicate with the team, they don't want to be a team player. I know the old saying is, a bad apple spoils the bunch, but I've seen it happen. And, you really have to be conscious of your team's needs and build a team that supports each other. So I think it's just fundamental to the success of the organization to have a strong team.
Yeah, I think definitely you can set as many goals as you want as an organization, but there are these deeper drivers of what kind of person do you want to be? What kind of group of people do we want to be? How do we want people to perceive us? That unite you far greater than, we're selling software to do X, Y, and Z ever will. What are some of the things that you think would unite a team? What are some of the pieces of culture that people should look to hire for?
The teams that I've built in the past, one was around tech support and, customer success. You really have to have people that are willing to put others before them. I think that that's a huge thing. We talked about the shopping cart test, doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. You can have a quick sale and you can then have an unhappy customer, or you could build a relationship. You can't overpromise and then underdeliver. It's almost like you have to underpromise and overdeliver to make the experience good. And you have to have a team of people who are willing to do that. I strongly believe in surrounding yourself with people who are smarter in areas where you're not, so that you've got the competencies and all of that taken care of. But gosh, I think asking in the interview process questions about family, what do you like to do outside of work? Just the whole well-rounded picture of the person is really important when building a team.
Yeah, I like to ask, when's the last time you challenged somebody's beliefs, and when's the last time you had your beliefs challenged? Because if you're not in regular scenarios where, one, you're willing to put yourself out there in such a way that somebody's going to challenge your beliefs, but two, willing to give somebody else that opportunity for growth as well by challenging theirs. And handling that respectfully is incredibly important, because if everyone's just tiptoeing around each other and nobody wants to talk about where they agree or disagree, that leads to unmet expectations by everyone.
Yeah, when I was a teacher, I've had, I believe, 8 student teachers who've come under me and taught them and helped them to grow as a teacher. And I told them, we're going to have professional conversations. And they're not meant to hurt your feelings, but you're here to grow and learn. And they're going to be difficult conversations. And I'm sure that tears will be shed, and that's fine. But just know going in that, you're not here to be my friend. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to help you. And so kind of setting that stage, even with employees, I think is super important, that, you're there to learn, and growth is painful. You don't go to the gym and like, you go to the gym and your muscles never burn, then you're never, getting better. So
Yeah,
same thing with learning and growth professionally. If you're not challenged, you're not learning.
that makes a lot of sense. So a lot of people feel this intuitively. A lot of people think about this all the time and would like to say, of course, we hire for values and culture, but then I see a lot of companies, or you see evidence in the news or anywhere really, or your friends talking about their own company or your family doing that, um, where it's clear a business missed something. They didn't build the teams properly, and there isn't a culture fit, and there aren't shared values. Why do you think? What do you think businesses miss? What do you think people miss most often that prevents them from building a team like that?
I think that leaders who don't build diverse teams are really missing out on so many opportunities because your customers are diverse. You have to have, you know, I, I can speak about Phin. I think that when we came together as a team in Tampa, I've never seen more diverse people get along so well. And as I was sitting there just watching all the interactions, I was like, the one word that came to mind was kindness, is everybody is treated with kindness. And if I bring up something, maybe to the dev team or something, and I perceive it as a challenge, I've never been met with anything but a thank you. Like, we didn't think of that. We didn't think that, maybe, it should go that way, but we see your point. And just that open communication and kindness and treating people the way you want to be treated. It all sounds so old fashioned, but it's like so important. And people who lose sight of that lose out on a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, they absolutely do. One thing that's been very true as we've built some of Fin together is that if it's not your number one focus, if it's not the only thing, one of the only things, I'll put it that way. I can't say only or all anymore, or one or all. Um, if it's not the most important thing you're focused on, then it'll fall by the wayside eventually. There will be a crack, a chink in the armor, so to speak, or somebody won't be quite aligned, or your company won't be quite aligned, or your team won't, or something, because it's incredibly hard to make sure everybody's still focused on having those values and treating everyone with kindness. Even something as simple as that, a lot of people lose sight of.
Yeah. And I think the more you think about it, and maybe it's because, as I've passed the 50-year mark, you think that those things are so simple and like, why don't more people get it?
Yeah. Well, it's like losing weight is simple. Work out more than you, or burn more calories than you put in into your body. However, it's in practice an incredibly hard thing to do because you have to show up every day and be committed to doing that. You can take days off, but more so than not, you have to be dedicated to doing that. You can misstep, but you can't misstep all the time, or you move in a different direction.
True. We love cooking way too much.
I love eating way too much, that's for sure. Thank God somebody loves cooking. I mean, I like cooking, but I'm more of a pragmatist when it comes to that. I'll cook a chicken thigh. I'm not gonna slow roast prime rib for hours and hours and hours. I don't have, like I said, I don't have patience for anything. So nothing like that. Where do you think people mess up on this most frequently? What steps should a company take if they're looking to build a team, whether that's a brand new one or maybe rebuilding an existing one from scratch?
I think that if you're in that process, having a coach is huge. I had a coach, his name's Adam Petticord out of Seattle, Washington, and he helped. Really, for me, it was about I needed a sounding board that wasn't within the company to help me make sure that I was making the decisions for the right reasons and things like that. But I think that that's huge, is a lot of people think that they know everything, and there's so much I don't know, and I'm happy to admit that. But I think that having consultants, coaches, peer groups, things like that, and look at your team. Do they all look the same? Do they all kind of, think the same way? You need those diverse perspectives and things like that so that you can make the best decisions and help your customer.
Yeah.
Well, and I think one thing that you really do need to look to is your interview process. Are you figuring out
Yeah.
as much as you can about that person before you kind of bring them into the fold, if you will?
One thing I always hated about interview processes, not only ones that I was a part of, but when we had to start interviewing, when I had to start interviewing people, it's just like, of course, everyone knows how to interview well. Like, you go online and you type in, what are 10 tips or 10 strategies, 10 things I should do to my cover letter? And, you spend an hour looking on the internet or watching YouTube videos, and all of a sudden you know how to be a star candidate. And I always hated that because, sure, I knew I could go get the job, is I just need to be whatever they're asking for. But that was not me. Like, I wasn't myself. And then I thought the same thing when we were interviewing. It's like, well, of course these people know exactly what to say and how to say it, because, well, they're just being what we're asking for. That's when I tried to come up with what's a wacky question? What is what's a super question that, one, nobody could ever have an answer prepared for, and two, they've never gotten in their life. It's like, all right, if I can do that and it's valuable information, I think I'll get an honest answer. And that's when it's like, when's the last time you challenged somebody's beliefs? And my thought was, if somebody can't point to one in memory, any single, it could be a belief as like, um, the best Pokemon starter. There's three that you get to choose from, and this is the best one. It's like, if you don't have enough of a sampling to pull from where you can't find one way you challenge somebody's beliefs, it's like, you're probably not going to do that here. And then conversely, if you can't remember a single time when somebody challenged your beliefs, you're living a life that is so comfortable in regards to your thought and your actions and the motivations you have in life, that you're probably not going to fare well when you are challenged because you're not used to it.
Well, I think I told you in hiring, like a tier one tech and asking them where they want to go. What do you want to be doing in 5 years? And they're like, oh, I just want to be a tier one tech. Well, you're not the right person for this job. I want you to tier one's like beginner. I want you to keep growing. And if an opportunity at this company doesn't open up for you, I would be happy to recommend that you go somewhere else if it was, best for them.
Yeah. What is a bias that leads people to making poor hiring decisions? What's one that you could think of off the top of your head? If you don't have one, I know exactly which bias I want to talk about.
Well, you go first then.
I'll go first. I think a lot of people make the mistake of believing that people that are like themselves, whether that's the way they look, where they came from, the thoughts they have, the education they have, the amount of money they make, like, just think of people that are like you. I think a lot of people who hire make the mistake that people that are like you are the people to get the job done.
Yeah, that's a fatal mistake.
Right. It's like, if you if you had left arms and right arms and you were trying to assemble them in such a way to get two arms on a body, it's like, well, if you only had left arms to work with, you don't have a right arm. It's like, you're missing half the equation. In reality, decisions are much more complex than that. But that's how I've always viewed it, is, well, I suck at so many things. Like, why? I regularly make the statement to Josh. I was like, we're the only two unqualified people to work here, right? It's like, why we wouldn't hire anyone that was remotely close to us as a result of, we're not qualified to do any of this. So
I think a big bias in the tech industry is that, when I was growing up, everyone had to get a college degree. And
yeah,
if you don't have a college degree, then you don't get the interview. You don't, it's so different in this space. It's that people go learn what they want to learn. If they want to be better at graphic design, they can go take some graphic design classes. If they want to be better at, coding, they can take, other certification classes. So I would say this might be discrimination against age, but I would think that the older you are, the more reverence you hold for like a college degree.
yeah, it definitely meant a lot more to have a college degree 30 years ago than it does now, for
Oh,
sure.
for sure.
And that, with so many educational resources, and if you're a self-starter, or if you're motivated in any way, shape, or form, you can go on YouTube and at the end of 3 months know more about a subject than most people who graduate college having studied that subject. It's
Yeah.
just how interested, how motivated, how excited are you about the thing that you're trying to understand?
there's so much access to information now that wasn't there when I was growing up. So
Yeah.
to know that I've kind of been embraced by the young people and that I contribute. So, my skill set is very different than your skill set. And, with other people on the team, that's what makes a really good functioning team.
Yeah. You have different people all pushing together in the same direction. Exactly. If you had one piece of advice for maybe somebody's a hiring manager, maybe they're about to, I'm thinking of scenarios. They're about to hire their first person to work with them ever, a tier 1 tech, let's say. What would your advice to them be?
Listen to what they have to say.
Listen to what they have to say.
Yeah, I think what is it? We have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. You should listen twice as much as you talk.
That's probably good. And that way, if you are not a very smart person, but you don't talk, nobody knows that. So it's like when I stop talking, usually people can't tell that my ideas are dumb when I stop talking because I just haven't told them about it. My piece of advice would be always hire for the person, not for their skill set. So you can teach a motivated person to do anything. You can't teach a qualified person who doesn't want to do it. That's what I would say. That's what I've found so far.
Yeah, I always told my students, when they'd come back to me for college advice or anything, if they didn't know what they wanted to do, I always told them to take communication classes because a business can't teach you to communicate. They can't teach you to public speak, but they can teach you the business.
Yeah. For those of you listening, I was reading an article today about Freshworks. Freshworks is like this multi-billion-dollar company that was based in Asia. That was based in India. And they just did a presentation. The CEO just did a presentation where they took 5 key takeaways for why they are the best at what they do. Their second takeaway is focus on people who have a learning mindset and mapping their talent to whatever job they're doing. Don't hire for the people who are qualified. Hire for the people who have the mindset of the person you want.
Yep.
You can teach anyone anything as long as they want to learn.
Great point.
Sweet. Well, thanks for joining us, Mary. It was a pleasure having you back on.
Yeah, thank you. It was fun.
Once again, folks, I'm Connor, CEO at Phin, host of the Gone Fishing podcast. It's exactly what you've been listening to, in case you were wondering. So, hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in to Gone Fishing. If you want to find out more about high-quality security awareness training campaigns, how to launch them in ways that actually engage employees to change their habits, then check us out, Phin Security, at phinsec.io. That's phinsec.io. Or click all of the wonderful links in our show notes. Thanks for fishing with me today, and we'll see you next time.